Um, so yeah, let's do a quick round of introductions. Also say hi to all the replay folks who might be watching this on YouTube later. Definitely recommend you check out more at JournoDAO.xyz and Twitter and our blog, and there's all kinds of good places to kind of get caught up. Although these meetings are probably the best place to get caught up on things that we're up to. So we've got a couple new people that we're going to hear about what they're working on, and so maybe I think a good place to start is just a quick round of introductions. And I'll go ahead and start. I'm Eric, one of the co-founders of JournoDAO and working journalist, and have been for 20-25 years, covering everything from climate to space to crypto, and I'm based in New Mexico. And how about I'll hand it to Crystal.
Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm based in Longmont, Colorado, and I am a former photojournalist. Been in crypto since about 2017 and blockchain development and communications. And I'm also an academic. So I'll kick it over to Keith.
Hey, Keith Axline. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I'm now a developer, but had a decade-long career at Wired Magazine and Medium as an editor, and also ran their photography blog, so I have some photo connections as well. And Spencer, you want to go?
Sure, yeah. So I got involved in Spencer. I'm in Los Angeles. I don't have a background in journalism, but I actually background in filmmaking until I discovered blockchain. Everything, got involved as a speculator, and then learned about the non-financial applications and DAOs. Learned about JournoDAO almost around a year ago at this point. So when Eric, I think, first started the server. So we're coming on a year old, and it's been an awesome ride so far. What about John?
Okay. I've been here in the JournoDAO, I guess, about coming on a year, just like you, Spencer, and don't have a journalism background, but I've been developing a journalism background with these fine folks here. Mainly doing a lot of content, trying to develop out a podcast for the JournoDAO, and we just finished recording a mini series covering various components of Web3 and journalism in collaboration with CryptoSapiens.xyz, which is a podcast through Bankless DAO. And yeah, just glad to be here.
Why don't we kick it to Dario? You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So a pleasure to meet you all. It's my first time in this Zoom call with the town hall. And yeah, I'm Dario. I'm the co-founder of Video Oracle. It's a protocol to verify events in the real world through videos on chain. And yeah, I have a 5-year-long background in software development, mostly on machine learning. And I've been doing blockchain stuff for the past year and a half. And yeah, I'll just pass the ball to Master Jep.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elias. I'm based in Italy. I have a past in IT strategy consulting. I got a bit tired of it starting off this year, and I jumped full-time into Web3. I've been supporting companies around BD and done a lot of networking. And while going to some events in Italy, I've been lucky enough to meet Dario doing the project of Video Oracle. So I joined with both my feet and with my flag of a pirate, and now I'm having a lot of fun with it. So thank you all. I think we're only missing Glenn, if I'm not mistaken.
Hey, I'm Glenn. I'm been building a decentralized media protocol called Meme, as well as a bunch of collaborative publishing tools on top of that. And so a relatively recent addition to this group, but I have really enjoyed taking more of kind of the journalist perspective from how we start thinking about doing this more broadly in a decentralized way. So yeah, really love digging in here. I think let's let Nick go last. I think he's still here too.
Mo's here. My camera's never on, but Mo's here. I'm Nick. I have a background in biochemistry. Last year or two, I've been working in cryptocurrency, doing stuff from marketing to data analytics to blockchain investigation type stuff. So it's me.
All right, cool. Thanks everyone, and thanks. So I heard I cut out a little bit. It's Dario, and then is it Mastro? How do I
Yes,
say it?
Mastro is fine, or Elias, as you prefer.
Okay, great. Glad everyone could make it. So I thought maybe Crystal or Keith, if you want to run down the newsletter just kind of real quick, and then we can jump into Video Oracle.
Sure, I'll run it down. I think the site is down, so Keith can just be over there trying to fix it, and I'll pull up the Notion doc that I used. It was a pretty light week, or 2 weeks. Let me see, where are my notes? So basically, yeah, so we have our town hall from the 16th. Spencer was on a podcast with DAO Talk by Tally. When they spelled all the names wrong. So I know he's been working on that to fix it, which is pretty funny. And let's see. Keith has been working pretty hard on our Mastodon. He got a server spun up for us. It's publicgoods.social, I think. And our links are in that article if you want to follow us. And we're not really sure exactly how, I'll let Keith talk about that, but how we're going to scale it and what we're going to do with it. But right now it's just this nice little quiet room where no one is, so we can kind of enjoy an algorithm-free experience, which is nice. We have shifted into fundraising mode for grants. So we're kind of in a little mini grant sprint. We have submitted a big grant yesterday to FutureQuest. So that I think they meet December 1st to start reviewing the grant submissions. And then by the end of December, we'll hopefully let us know. For that project, we're looking at a decentralized climate reporting project. And it's kind of like a prototype for a much larger project. I'll let Eric talk about that if he wants to dive into it. We're also getting ready to write another one for LivePeer. And this is one that Keith and John came up with an idea for an async podcast called Pinch Media. So we're in the works on that one right now, putting the grant together. Got our ocean grant that will be getting some momentum here soon once these grant applications go through. And we basically I put something up on the forum about how we're going to distribute these grant funds, just kind of as a rough guideline. So a percentage goes to the treasury, and then a percentage will go to everybody involved in the project. We put that up there just so we have a guideline before grants get awarded, so we don't have any ambiguity when things start to move forward. And I think that's about it. Eric, did we get your article in there for FTX too? I don't know if we got that included.
No, and it's actually what's up there is not I just created a timeline of all the FTX stuff and some of the main characters, but there's more still to be done.
I mean, there's supposed to be that New York Times thing today where he's actually like a guest speaker, right?
Oh yeah,
that's today. That's a thing.
That's right. That's probably in like an hour or something, I think.
Yeah, I think they said it's 5 p.m. Eastern.
5. Okay, so yeah.
I'll be in class, but someone please keep me updated because I'm so curious. But yeah, that's newsletter. So.
On the SBF stuff, I also
and Ben Affleck is speaking at that too.
Ben Affleck is involved somehow. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they're the little New York Times mini Davos type thing. There's also there's kind of a random YouTuber that SBF did 2 like 20-minute interviews with that I just finished listening to before coming on here. It doesn't really particularly reveal anything new, but it's just this total like random person who started a Substack in June because she lost money on Celsius, who had never, it was her first interview of anyone. So it's just kind of like insane. I mean, she did a pretty good job for never having done it before, but just the kind of like insanity of like the decision making that's going on is, it just keeps rolling, man. So I thought we could just kind of hand it over to Dario and Mastro, because I'm pretty interested to learn more about Video Oracle, and I know you've spoken with Spencer already, and you know, this we're kind of I'd say we are definitely like Oracle curious, and certainly more than curious about video, and we're kind of, we just in the last couple of days we've been talking about like how a like news protocol, and basically like an ecosystem of all these different Web3 tools that could be put together into something that journalists could use, both for the reporting process and for you know, improving the business models that support them. So anyway, I'm curious to see what you've been working on, and how it might slot into some of the things that we discuss. Do you have anything to screen share? Should I give either of you host capabilities here?
Well, I don't think like it's pretty straightforward. Like, I'll just give you a bit of history of how it started out. Like, it started out in June. We were at a hackathon, me and a couple of friends of mine in Berlin. It was NFT Berlin, and one of the sponsors was Live Beer. So they were like, build something with videos on Web3. We started like brainstorming a bit. And yeah, we stumbled upon this idea of creating a video oracle, so something to actually put on-chain stuff from the real world directly through video. And we developed that, and we were selected among the winning projects. And after the hackathon finished, like Live Peer approached us and was like, "Hey, do you want to continue building this?" And we were like, yeah, like why not? Like, it was a cool project when we were doing the hackathon, so we were like, why not do it further? So we basically got a grant from them, and we developed this full time. We continued developing for a couple of months, and we released the protocol a month ago. Basically, we released the protocol along with the white paper. And we are now looking for another grant to develop the top of it. We actually have already started developing it. And besides that, we are actually also now in the process of seeing all the different use cases for what we're doing, and yeah, considering which one makes sense to start out on, because there are a lot of different use cases, and one of the most interesting ones was like actually journalism. So we connected with you, which like made sense for us. And yeah, that basically it's it from the history side of things. But how does it work? So we have this protocol, and we have three parties involved. We have requesters who make requests to the protocol. We have verifiers who verify these requests to the protocol, and then we have voters, which are an optional side of the protocol, which can vote on the verification videos. So let's put an example up. Like, let's say I'm a retailer and I'm selling my shoes in I don't know, one of the busiest areas in Milan, and I want to verify that actually my shoes are set up correctly on the storefront. We can send people over with their phones, make a video of this like retail store, and people can actually verify that their thing is set out how it was decided, and they can earn a bounty for doing that. So that's basically one of the examples. From the journalism side, like one of the examples could be like also the war. Maybe someone wants to involve the local community, or just have like a direct experience for the war in Ukraine directly through video, and they can open up a bounty and say like, I don't know, this like energy plant has been bombed go there, make a video, and verify that actually there has been a lot of damage on this energy plant, and verify that through video. And yeah, that's basically it.
So that's very cool. I'm curious what you built on, or like what what your I suppose like what the storage layer is for this.
Yeah, it's all decentralized. So we're going on IPFS, and all the videos are stored on IPFS as NFTs. So they all have their own metadata. We're actually now developing a system to ensure that the metadata is correct. And for metadata, we intend mostly location and timing of the video. So we will ensure that actually this video is taken at that place in that time. And yeah, also we are now looking into developing the dApp. We've already started doing some infrastructure things, and we want to develop the dApp also on a decentralized layer. So on Fleek, which has IPFS as hosting, so that we can have like the always the platform up and don't have any level of I'd say censorship or just downtime of the platform. And yeah, that's basically it.
In the case of the sorry, that was really cool, but your specific example just brought something up for me. Like if you're sending a bounty out like to somebody who's like in a dangerous area or whatever, and something happens to them, are you worried about any like blowback on the platform, or have you thought about that at all? Because we're also thinking about like collective like insurance for journalists and stuff like that. So
you mean like
so
could you provide like a real
like in
life
your example, if they go and like film the bombed out energy plant or whatever, and then like another bomb happens and like they die while doing that, then I don't know, it comes out that they were there on a bounty from the platform, and even though it's like decentralized, then people come looking for somebody to blame and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the dangers of what we've built. Like as you can imagine, there are a lot of dangers, and we are actually taking active I'd say consideration into these kind of things. We're still a protocol, so we haven't really looked into it that much, also because we are looking at the whole a lot of different use cases, like also mostly insurance claims and stuff like that, where it's a bit easier to get into the door and a bit safer and less risky, definitely. But yeah, that's definitely something to consider.
You could probably put a liability waiver on the bounty if you had to. That way, in accepting this bounty, just put it in writing there. Like in accepting this bounty, you're also, accepting the risk, I guess.
Yeah, could be an idea. Like legally, definitely. But there's also like a question about, I don't know, just moderation of the bounties and stuff like that. It's a slippery slope though. So I don't know, it's definitely an open discussion at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was just an interesting tangent, but we can move on.
No, just as well as Dario was saying, right now we're validating the use cases, and today we had a nice conversation with an independent journalist, and he made us really cool examples telling us that that sometimes there is not only one side of the story. And he told us like some examples, for example, in Syria or in Ukraine, that you might want the truth from both sides. And as well, when you ask and you put a bounty out, you might get suppliers of the video, let's say the verifiers, that sometimes they go towards one zone and sometimes they go towards another zone. So I do think that blockchain in this case helps, because you can see easier what is the historical videos that people have put out, maybe understand better what's their position, and as well give a bit more of authority to their position. But these are all assumptions. So what do you guys think? How we should face this challenge? Maybe Glenn, you have a question?
Yeah, I guess kind of similar lines. Like I'm wondering, have you kind of picked a specific pattern for what's required for verification? Is that done at the community level of who's wanting to create a bounty for what kind of media, like what the requirements are to meet that for that community, and how that whole kind of process works? Or are you kind of making some decisions yourselves about what is it to be verified to then receive that bounty? Like what's the how much of that is set by individual communities or publications or whatever it is versus something that you guys are building into the protocol, or do you have an opinion on?
No, it's all open. Like, we want to allow anybody to ask for everything around the world. Like, of course, in the limits of legality, but that was one of the main things when we started developing this. So just giving the freedom of everyone to verify anything around the world, which has an impact on business and also like on journalism and just truth in general.
And that's set at so it's anybody can come and create a bounty, and then they can set who the verifiers are and what it needs, what's required for it to be verified, or what parts are set?
We have two types of verification. So the first type is actually, as you said, I'm a requester, I make a bounty, I get a video verification from that, and I decide, okay, this is the right one, I'm gonna give the bounty to this guy. The other way of verifying things is through involving a third party. These third parties are going to be voters who can go into the video verification sections, look at all the videos and decide which ones they like. And basically they're incentivized to give the right vote to the video, because every time they want to vote, they have to stake an amount of money. So they vote on these videos. Let's say the video gets selected, the bounty is split between all the voters and the verifier. And let's say this video gets selected, but the requester doesn't like that, he can open a dispute on that bounty, so that basically the money staked by the voters is going to be lost, and that's basically going to be decided by the voters that didn't vote for that video, and they're gonna come into the like this dispute vote, and basically decide if the dispute is the right one or if it's a fake one. And yeah, that's basically how it works on the verification side.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks.
I don't know if you're aware of the initiative I think it's spearheaded by Adobe, but we just learned about it at ONA, the Content Authenticity Initiative. I linked to it it might be interesting to take a look at. They're working with like hardware manufacturers, like camera manufacturers, to actually put in like chips into new cameras that can be opted into for content provenance verification, like at the hardware level. So that just might be interesting to be aware of. That could be perhaps more effective than like metadata, and if there's like questions about provenance, or you could like, maybe people could pay more if somebody uses like a camera that's authorized or that comes from the Content Authenticity Initiative. Spencer, what were you gonna say?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna suggest, I mean, at least for me, a lot of this becomes even more interesting if you think about at least my understanding of Chainverse and how that's kind of like a wiki structure of on-chain information. You can kind of use that as like an information commons where a lot of these video attestations can be stored. And I just wanted to ask, I think it was Eric, Crystal, or Nick, if any of you knew the current status of Chainverse, if that's still being developed or if that's on some hiatus. Also, I may have a lag too, so I'm sorry if I speak over anyone.
As far as I know, there's still some development happening. I know because I'm on the Unlock Grant Selection Committee, and Jordan did submit a grant there to do some integrations with Unlock. I haven't hopped in their server in the last week or so just to see what's going on with it, but as far as I know, they're still in the long haul. Nick, have you worked with them recently?
I haven't heard any updates in the last month or so.
One of my thoughts listening to this and talking with you guys yesterday about video article is that this could be valuable even just in terms of adding attestations to a public database that's difficult to censor even before verification comes into the question. Like I think we can have verification as like a step after a lot of this stuff gets stored on IPFS or gets tokenized, and then there can be like a verification layer like after the stuff gets added. I mean, at least for me, that could be one possible way to prevent any kind of like moderation gatekeeping, like preventing content from getting onto IPFS or something. I think we can still validate stuff after it's been added, but maybe that's how you guys are already building it. But anyway, I think I'd like to.
No, sorry. Go.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, like, I'd like to learn a bit more about Chainverse too, because it seems like what you're describing can complement that pretty well as like a wiki, that an on-chain wiki of events and information that journalists can navigate and build cases from. But maybe I have an incorrect understanding of what Chainverse is doing.
Is it a blockchain game publishing platform?
Not sure if they have a web
Chain-
presence yet, do they?
It's through Diamond DAO.
Okay, found it.
Yeah, they're kind of building like it's like an explorer, like a kind of search engine, but more than a search engine for Web3 data.
Yeah, like a knowledge graph. And then you can attach sources to each person, and it kind of scrapes wallet data. Anything it can scrape and aggregate. It's kind of the way it's designed.
That's super cool. No, but to respond to your question, Spencer, we are actually doing the verification stuff like afterwards, because like it's all decentralized, and so if you want to submit a request to the protocol, you still have to create an NFT with the data on IPFS. So yeah, it's gonna be still there and available to everyone to see.
Can I just go through a line of thinking
perfect.
here and see what y'all think? Because this is making me think of few services I used when I used to like assign like photo assignments to people like around the world. I'm interested like how you view this compared to like where's the line between just some like video made for verification purposes versus like a freelance contract, like, oh, I want to hire this person to go like shoot this thing via the bounty, and that makes me think of like who owns the video, like the licensing of the video. Like if I like paid for the bounty, like then do I have some sort of like usage rights for that video? And is there some sort of like reputation system of like, is this videographer more trustworthy than this one because they've, been verified to have like done a good job on these bounties, like that sort of thing? That's just kind of like where my mind's going.
Now, for this last question, so yes, we're gonna put some reputation on every verifier, because like it's all wallet based. So if you're gonna have a wallet that submits multiple verifications, you're gonna have like a certain level of trust, or like or none of the trust. And yeah, that also counts for the request side. So if you are a requester who makes like, I don't know, certain types of requests, you're going to have like a certain reputation for like the bounty paid. For the licensing think we actually haven't looked into it that much because, as I said, we are looking at a lot of use cases. Most of them are pretty utilitarian. So like, yeah, as I said, insurance claims, real estate, etc., etc. But I don't know, it could be actually definitely interesting because like this morning we talked to some journalists and he was like, okay, we had this guy who was helping us and he was like freelancing, doing photography in Warzone. I don't remember which one it was, but he was like, okay, I had to pay this guy and he was doing this work for me and he was actually a freelancer. So yeah, that's we are kind of streamlining that process. Licensing wise, we still haven't looked into it actually.
Yeah, be it. I've also been researching like this idea of powers versus rights, and it's like with like crypto stuff, you can actually like with independent of like what's legally like appropriate or like licensed or like copyright or IP, crypto actually allows you to like mechanically like prevent somebody from accessing something. And so I've put things in a different light of even before like maybe licensing and IP and all this stuff, like since you're going to be, you know, going across like all these boundaries with like different legalities and everything. If you focus on like just who has actual access to the like who can access the video content, maybe that makes it simpler. And you can maybe pay more if like only you can access it and then the person who uploads it like can't access it. I don't know, that might be one way around it, because I'm thinking about this for in terms of like personal data. And so I think anyone who has like this collection of videos, like say they're on there and they do like 50 videos or something, like those are like assets in a much broader context than just like that assignment that they shot it for, you know, like it'll be a collection over time that will like continue to have value, and even like historical context, like if the platform's running for years, like the bounty could be like in reverse of like I'm looking for a video from, you know, this place like 2 years ago or something like that. And so I don't know, that's just where mind goes, and like those different kinds of use cases, like if you can like simplify the controls there, because if you can't, then it's like, I don't know, people really get upset about these like usage rights and everything.
Yeah, that's definitely food for thought, like especially on the licensing thing. It's interesting, but about the openness of the content, like if like we are developing it to be as open as possible, but it could make sense like to, I don't know, maybe close down some content for like maybe if some requester just wants to see the content for himself, could be an idea to just like put some borders in it and maybe have the requester decide if they want to share this content with everybody. We're definitely going to start as an open platform because like it's from an implementation standpoint, like it's easier and also makes more sense. But like the border creation around some requests could be interesting, definitely.
Yeah, I think there's some platforms tools already that like the data actually lives on IPFS, but you know, you're just managing the keys that can like decrypt the content, and those can also be like time gated. So it's like it could be, you know, the content's all decentralized and like but then access could be apportioned by some of these other tools. Probably wouldn't even need to like build that yourself, but could just like integrate with it in some way.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it, definitely.
I'm curious, as you guys are building, like, and how you think about where this goes, I guess, like, or do you lean more towards the verification of kind of proposals and how you kind of pay out rewards for different communities, or what that looks like, or more into like broader sets of media bounties, or how much of that, like, so something like the permission stuff that Keith was just mentioning could be integrated with, whether it's unlock or lit, or a bunch of other, there's lots of ways to do this that you guys don't have to build, and your protocol, it's largely allowing whoever those communities are that are wanting to create those bounties in what ways, set their own rules, and then set what permissions other folks can get to that, and what's agreed to, right? So I'm curious how much of that you think, like, as you're building now, like, are you now kind of looking for those use cases and trying to build dApps directly to enable that to then work on top of your protocol? Or are you trying to find dApps to work on the protocol that already exists and have communities? Like, how do you think about building this, and how do you think about monetization, I guess, over time, and what you want this to be, I guess?
Right now we want to just build like a general purpose dApp. That's the idea behind what we're doing, because like it's essentially a two-sided marketplace. So we have like the requester and the verifiers. The more verifiers we have in an area, the more like we could give value to requesters. So it would make sense to just create a single dApp for us. But it's being a protocol, definitely makes sense for people to just develop their own stuff on top of this. It could be really interesting to see what people build on top of this, because like we're doing infrastructure actually, and like the idea of building a dApp is more like, okay, we want to see what use cases there are right now, see which one makes more sense for us to start with, and then basically scale it out to multiple locations and give people like the possibility to verify stuff around the world. And what we had in mind was to create like multiple categories. So we have like a journalism category, real estate category, and retail category, also like the publicity or marketing side of things. Like if you want to verify that your billboard is up in Bangalore, but you can't verify it like in the real world, like that could be an idea. And like right now we're just building a general purpose dApp, and the idea of other people building dApp on top of it, like it's definitely interesting, but it's also, I don't know, we just see a problem around the providing verifiers, because you need some money before to just like scale it out and have more people verifying.
And do you think of those verifiers as the same ones across those use cases?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, super simple.
One idea that came to mind, and I'm just kind of throwing this out there. I know we're all cognizant, and we have to be cognizant of the bandwidth we all have for all these various projects. But something JournoDAO has been talking about for a while is setting up some kind of credentialing system, on-chain credentialing system, or at least helping start that conversation about on-chain credentials for journalists. And there could be some possible way down the line that JournoDAO can help establish like journalistic standards for verifiers, and maybe that can help increase like the quality of some subset of verifiers if they have some credential, whether it's from JournoDAO or from some other thing that is like at least nominally some kind of audit of the integrity of the verifier. It could be stuff like taking some vow to not manipulate the video footage, or maybe just like read through some basic educational content about journalistic standards or whatever we think is important for people doing this verifying to be aware of. That could be one possible way we can work together down the line.
Yeah, definitely. Like KYC was one of our when we actually did the hackathon, like we had like the next step page on the presentation, and the first point was like KYC. So just like implementing this type of feature and seeing who is actually verifying this type of verifications, because like it could become messy, and just maybe you see 20 different verifications and you want to maybe get the best one, and maybe you see that there is I don't know, Spencer is like one of the best verifiers in the zone, and like Spencer is verified by JournoDAO, and like people could actually get a sense that that could be a good verification. That's definitely an interesting idea, and yeah, could be interesting. And also, sorry, Eric, I didn't see the message before. It's the idea. We are actually, like, I would say are leaning, but towards giving the footage to the photographer. But yeah, I'd say like just makes more sense to give the footage to the photographer, because like we want to create like the best possible protocol for everyone, and just makes more sense to, like, we want to entice people to join the protocol. So if they just feel like they're feeling ripped off by the protocol, it wouldn't make much sense. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that would avoid a lot of potential legal fees too, probably.
Yeah. Also.
And that also gets to what Keith was saying about like licensing earlier. I mean, I think most of that, like in my experience, like just dealing with at least US law, like most of that's just going to be worked out between like, you know, the editor and the photographer, and, you know, normally whatever platform, you know, in this case, you'd be the platform that's just being used to transfer content from one party to another. And, you know, typically that's not involved in any licensing deals. I mean, maybe there's a contract that says it goes through Video Oracle, but that would probably be it.
Yeah, but also like it's a protocol, so like just having people creating like potentially people could just create NFTs on their own and submit their requests, not through our app, but just like through their own tools. And yeah, like it could be easily avoidable. So yeah.
Another thing that just occurred to me, because you're talking about having verifiers in different regions in the world. Something that is being developed now. I shared a link in the chat here. The Holonym, this team called Holonym, they're developing a zero knowledge ID, which is essentially, like, they've described it as like a mixer, but for identity information instead of funds. So it can allow wallet owners to verify certain aspects of their identity without requiring them to publish that identity information anywhere, or trust some data custodian to not abuse that information. But one of the parameters that it already captures, and we're still beta testing this, but it already lets you capture nationality. Like, so you would scan a government issued ID. They they outsource that to this Web2 verification tool called Vouched. And so they scan the governmental ID, and one of the parameters or fields that it captures is nation of residence, and then I think it assigns like a prime number corresponds to every nation. And so I think that could be a way to like geolocate wallet owners or verifiers here in a way that doesn't require people to go through a traditional KYC arrangement because a traditional KYC arrangement would have some like data custodian that keeps track of a bunch of identity information. So like if that may not be necessary depending on certain legal considerations. And if it's not, then this could be a cool way to allow verifiers to maintain their privacy while still having certain identity information like nation of residence be verifiable if you want to place people.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I can't see the link actually. What's the name of this protocol?
I thought I posted it here. I sent it as a direct message to Eric. Here we go.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Awesome.
And I'm curious about I was excited to hear your experience with LivePeer. We're thinking about doing a grant with them. Just wondering how you found it using their technology and the team, and what part of the protocol it handles.
Yeah, the tech is super solid. We found it really easy to implement. Like, it's again super solid. The team is great. Like, we get the fortune to know a lot of them, and like, they're really supportive in what they do, not just like from reactiveness, but also like if we had some problems around like the tech side, it would be really helpful. And what else? Yeah, the community is great. Also, like, we had the fortune to chat with some of their orchestrator, who are the people who actually like manage the infrastructure, like on the mining side of things. And yeah, they have a really great community.
Cool. And what do you use them for? Like, what part of the platform? Like, where do they come into it for?
Yeah, we're using the SDK to create the NFTs that actually get sent as input for the request.
Okay. And what relationship does that have to the actual like video?
Yeah, they have this super like easy to use, like super great SDK for just like uploading videos on IPFS, and yeah, doing that through their LivePeer network. And yeah, we decided to implement that at the hackathon, and that's basically how it's been ever since. And yeah, I'm gonna continue to use that because it works really great. It's just an SDK where you can just like input the video file, and it gets sent to IPFS and minted on Polygon.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Do you have something, Glenn?
Yeah, one other quick question was just I'm curious around the kind of existing markets here for these things with like within Web 2. So things like mystery shopping and within real estate and advertising. It seems like these are areas where companies are operating to some degree. And I'm curious how much you think about this as like, hey, how do you compete with kind of existing folks that there's already a market for that, and kind of going after those pieces versus what this opens up in terms of new things? Or like, how do you think about the existing markets for these things, and how you compare, or is this kind of thinking more how to expand beyond that?
Well, I'd say we're looking at competition. There's definitely some competition around that side of thing, but what we want to do is just to get into competition if it makes sense. So if like having these videos on chain makes sense, we're gonna compete. If it doesn't, or if the advantage is minimal, it just doesn't make sense at this point to get into that market. And yeah, but basically we just want to also look at other use cases that could be created through the implementation of on-chain data and immutability of the data, and just having like verification of what happens on-chain and immutable, like has a lot of different use cases that haven't been really explored yet through Web 2 technologies, and want to focus on them for this point.
And I would say as well that today, those that are focusing, for example, on retail, there is a lot of B2B trying to get, for example, Coca-Cola or big beer companies. And then there are the students on the other side. And the experience is the students are chasing, and they're trying to do a lot of things to prove where they are. So they take a picture of the receipt, they take a picture of the sky, as well, like contextual. And so it's quite kind of fragmented. And I mean, for us, as as we are taking these is we will be focusing obviously on the use cases that make most sense first. And if there is the interest from them in the future to use our application, that will be coming later, I imagine. So far, those that are closer in terms of interest, at least, are the real estate one and the journalism sector. We're still doing a lot of validation, but it seems like because there is the chance to involve people really easier than and more decentralized is, let's say, it's more needed now in this space, especially for example in activism or journalism, because you might not have already someone in the location where you need. So yeah, I think we will go to that route first, but still exploring that sense.
I wanted to throw out there. I mean, I think there's another potential use case for journalism. Like I get the bounty thing, and my mind went to the same place that Keith's went in terms of yeah, it's useful to confirm something on the ground, and it's also useful as like a potential way of contracting with freelancers to bring in content from around the world. But then I think there's another, this kind of infrastructure, I think there's another kind of potential use case just as a way of publishing photos and videos online. Like that could be like if you were a Web3 native news outlet, like we're hoping to get going if some of these grants come through. You know, one of the things we would want to experiment with is publishing content, you know, by default on IPFS or another protocol like that, because I think that conveys some of the values you were saying, like you know, just transparency and immutability that are supposed to be part of the journalistic ethic, but are sometimes harder to locate in the Web2 world. And then it also, you know, if that were to become the default, where everything that news outlets publish is just, you just know that it's on a blockchain somewhere, then that actually becomes a really valuable way to fight against deepfakes. Because then, you know, if some, you know, like there was an SBF deepfake where he said he was going to give everyone's money back. It wasn't even a very good deepfake. It was pretty terrible deepfake. But you know, so I mean, if the standard became that all of our, you know, news content is just published on chain somewhere immediately, it's pretty easy to go back and see what's a deepfake and what's not. So I mean, that's something that's pretty far down the road, but it's something that we're going to be hopefully experimenting with in the months to come. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely. Like sounds super like a great future. Also, I think like just expanding on what you said, the idea of composability and just having the sources defined, because I think a lot of times when news gets published, like the sources are either like obscured, or you as a reader, like as a consumer of information, you actually don't get to see the sources, or you just have to take the word from the journalist for it. And if you had like some sort of like on-chain data, you could just like compose this data and say, okay, this comes from this source, this comes from this other source. If you want to verify, click here, and you can see. And just the idea of having like this interactive experience with the news could be a new frontier, and sounds super inspiring and just interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's actually where my mind goes first. Is, I mean, it's going to be a while before we're just putting, you know, terabytes of video on chain. Like that's not super practical. But I mean, I think it would benefit everyone if, you know, every news story that gets published that has a whole bunch of basically metadata, what you're describing, behind each story. Like you can go on chain and, you know, maybe the text is on, maybe all the videos are on there, but the text is on there, plus a whole bunch of metadata of the sources, geolocation, if it's appropriate, time, date information, and even fact checking information can all be on the metadata behind a story that's on chain somewhere. So yeah, I think this fits into that nicely.
Also like reporter scores, so you can just see how reliable someone is like when verifying stuff. So you can just like get your own idea on stuff. Maybe you see two contrasting views of the world, and maybe you can see, oh, this guy was like, I don't know, had a terrible score on the reliability side because his request was never, like he never verified the request, and this other guy verified like 1,000 times more requests than the other. So you can just like think of that guy as more reliable.
Yeah, those are great ideas from Eric. I would just maybe throw a cynical note out, and I don't know if the journalism world is where you're going to find a lot of like bounty capital. I think if you want to jumpstart that, I think the use cases that involve like advertisers and stuff like those are going to be like way easier, because I mean the budgets in the journalism world, like I don't imagine a lot of money going towards like a bounty to like source some video across the world, when like Eric, you can attest with, like I think a lot of news outlets rely on just the free social media everywhere, like and they're almost like happy with that at this point. But I mean, hopefully we can turn that around eventually. But if you're looking for like the buying side of the bounty thing, I don't know if newsrooms or editors are going to be very lucrative.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of newsrooms that are bought into the content authenticity initiative. And frankly, that's like what they're doing is super cool. It's also like the hardest and most expensive way that you could, because I mean, they're doing it at a hardware level and a software level. And then there's also a
That's the Adobe way, Eric. They wouldn't do it any other way.
How can we make this more expensive? I'm sure there will be a monthly subscriber fee to use it. So I mean, if you could prove out this use case for journalism, which hopefully we could hope to do at some point, and it works as a authentication method, I mean, it's like 10 times cheaper and easier than like making sure you've got the right Adobe hardware, firmware, and software.
On the protocol level, you could also, since you're also talking about like insurance uses for this and other private uses, you could have a tiny percentage of each bounty go to a treasury, and then that treasury could be the one that pays the bounties for the journalists. Does that make sense?
Ooh, love that idea.
Actually, I think that kind of answers Keith's point about there not being funding out there for journalist bounties, because a lot of that would need to be publicly funded. I think that treasury idea could solve that to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, you're just taking a tiny little percentage and then automatically making it a public good, and then at the protocol level.
Super interesting, but actually, like the point that Keith has raised, like we were talking about with Elias just 1 hour before joining the call, because like it's actually a real point. Like this morning we talked to some other journalists, and what transpired to us was like, it's important to have reliability, but the driver behind this like reliability thing is more of a deontological driver, I'd say. Like it's more like a moral thing from the journalist side, and could be less expensive to just like rely, as Keith said, on social media posts and stuff like that, and maybe even more efficient at this point. But like it depends. So an open conversation, and we're still looking into it. And also there is actually also another driver, which is like the scoop side of thing. Like, let's say you want to verify something that hasn't been verified by anyone, like let's say maybe the conditions of workers in a factory in China, and you could do that with, I don't know, like $100 grant bounty, sorry, for people there. It's gonna be a lot of money to them. They could do that, and like we could empower some use cases, and yeah, we're just looking into it. But as Keith said, like right now it's easier to do that with social media, and I don't know. It's interesting. Like just seeing the different perspectives on this.
I mean, I can do some reverse ninja kung fu on Keith's cynicism to actually make it encouraging, which is, I mean, there's like no money for anything right now in tech, Web3, or media. These are like three horrible places to be operating. But the upside of that is that if you can provide a use case that saves any of these people money, like if you can find a way to provide verified content, or especially a scoop like you say, and do it cheaper than sending someone to Kyiv, then I think they'll listen.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking into it. Like I have to say I'm siding more with Keith here. Like I think that, I don't know, it's interesting. Like as I said, we're still discovering new stuff every day, and yeah, maybe we could go behind, like forward on this maybe on another call, because I don't know, we're looking into this. Like Elias is definitely more on the other side. He thinks like that could be.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what's the money put behind trying to verify sources, and that's one of my main concerns. Like from the call we had this morning, like one of the things that was perceived is that like there's no money trying to prove things of like the veridicity of stuff in the real world. But like talking to you today, like also the content authenticity initiative, it's actually kind of proving me wrong, and I'm happy to see that. But yeah, I don't know, still looking into it.
I think my side that I'm where I'm coming from is, yes, I imagine maybe traditional media is something that might come later, and the money to prove an article may not be so much needed unless it's something on the long term to try to gain again credibility if it's lost for whatever reason. I imagine myself or others that do a lot of scrolling on Twitter, and sometimes we read news and almost we get hurting from news that we feel that are not true, and maybe abounding that occasion to try to show the other side of the story. Maybe that is the same driver that activists, journalists, independent journalists have, to try to show the truth, or at least their side of the story that may not be there yet out there, let's say.
Yeah, well, I think if you all can stick around long enough, I mean, we're all trying to reshape the information economy that actually rewards like fact checking and veracity instead of just like interestingness. And so I think in the long term, like that's the right place to be, and it will be lucrative at some point. But I don't know, maybe you could talk about how you or the platform or the protocol are thinking about making money and sustaining yourselves, or like how do you move forward?
Well, we haven't figured it out. Like probably it's gonna be some percentage wise of the things going through the protocol is gonna go to a treasury, and we're gonna like get some money from that, like a small percentage. But circling back, sorry, to the questions before, like it just popped into my mind. An idea could actually be trying to reward people not only through money, like the bounty could be something else. You could have like, I don't know, something that's more scalable to reward people with. I don't know, like could be a subscription through a news outlet. Could be like at this point we can tokenize everything, so it could be like an NFT, not just in the traditional sense of like a monkey with a rainbow background or something like that, but just an NFT, like proving that that guy has been central and contributing to that story. That could actually be an idea. I don't know how that idea sounds to you, but like I'm just brainstorming it.
I mean, I know.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, I think
Do we have,
I think-
do we have a lag on this? I
What's
may have a
going
lag
on?
in my connection.
Okay.
You're in and out, Spencer.
Slightly.
I think alternative incentives and rewards are definitely going to be part of like most dApps and going forward. I think interesting economies are going to emerge. It's not clear like what the path forward is on that, but I think it's worth exploring. I mean, we're kind of tinkering with those things ourselves.
Yeah, but also like think of all the, I don't know, Reddit mods. Like all the mods on Reddit are just like working kind of for free, but like it's a different kind of economy. Like they're just working on improving their communities. So I think like Video Oracle definitely has the potential to do that. So improving community to just like proving things in the real world, and that could be one of the underlying drivers behind the journalism use case.
Yeah, and I think it might be worth mentioning like one of our projects, Factland, has some of the similar dynamics that you're kind of toying with, which is it's all text based, but the idea is like it's Reddit, but then you have to like stake tokens against like what you say, and then it'll like randomly select a jury to adjudicate the claims that are like the most popular. And so you get like 100 random people looking over like a thread of evidence and arguments and stuff, and then saying like whether something's true or not, or like it, or undecided, or whatever the outcome is. And then like if the jury agrees with you, then you get a portion of all the people the jury disagreed with, everything that they staked. And so it's a bit of like you're saying, somebody might create a bounty just to prove somebody wrong because they know that somebody on Twitter is not, is lying or something. And I think we're kind of in a similar mindset of like forcing people to like put their money where their mouth is, and like increase the cost of saying like dangerous or just like inflammatory things just for the fun of it because you can.
Yeah.
Because you just happen to own Twitter.
Right. Well, he did put his money where his mouth is, I guess. And other people's.
I bought this megaphone, damn it. I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks to both of you for giving us so much time, and I look forward to seeing this as it evolves, and how we can hopefully get to use it, and maybe work together on building it out somehow.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you all for your time. Like just having this kind of interest like super cool. Also, you gave us a lot of ideas to improve the protocol, not only like journalism wise, but also generally. Also, like to whoever submitted the Astra Global, like looks super interesting, and also the other protocols like to integrate could be really great. Thanks, Glenn. And also, yeah, again, thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
This is awesome.
Keep an eye on our server, and yeah, we have these every Wednesday too, so always welcome to hop on here with us in the future as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Look forward to joining the next ones.
Cool. Well, maybe we can leave it there for today, unless did anyone else have anything that we should really address today? All right. All right. Well, I'm gonna go take some more ibuprofen for my teeth, and it was really great. And I'll look for all of you in Discord and beyond.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks all.
Right.
You
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you.